So first of all, let me welcome you and thank you so much, Valerie, for being here with me today, having a conversation. I know how busy you keep. I understand that this present transition has put a lot of pressure you on your team to completely digitalize the work that you do, but you're doing it amazingly well. I know that. So thank you for making time for me. I'd want to start with you telling people who you are and what you do.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Tarnum. It's a pleasure to do this with and I feel like us digitizing is just like everybody else, right? Who's us? So let me just explain how we know each other and why we've come to have this conversation. So for the past 5 years, I've worked in Rotman School of Management. And initially, I was the program coordinator for the Business Edge program, which is a program that focuses on career advancement strategies for newcomers to Canada who are underemployed. Mm-hmm. And for the last couple of years, my role has changed to recruitment, outreach, and alumni officer because I'm working with two different programs now, our campus-based program and our digital program. Currently, our campus-based program is also online, and we are jokingly calling it Campus Online to differentiate it from the digital program, which started in February. But every Tuesday night, we have two programs back-to-back is how that's working now, two webinars back-to-back.
Wow.
Before I worked for Rotman School of Management, I worked for Access Employment for almost 8 years and worked with several different bridging programs. I've also worked with refugees when I was living in the US, and I have a broadcasting career for 10 years as well.
Oh my goodness, look at you.
Gone all over the place.
Yeah. Wealth of experience that you're bringing.
A variety of different things. Yeah. And there was another part to your question, and I'm forgetting it now.
No,
Can you remind me where you want to go from there?
Yeah, I just wanted to get people to know you, which you've done so wonderfully well, giving them a sense of your experience and what you do presently. With COVID-19 happening, I also wanted people to learn how is it impacting people's personal and professional lives.
Yeah.
So how are you coping?
Well, I feel like professionally, I feel incredibly privileged to have the kind of work that I can do from home. It's very different for me. A colleague of mine who's retired from the oil sector, we were doing one of those Facebook social group collective, everybody with their videos on, and she was introducing me to some of her friends I'd never met before. She's in Calgary, and she's got friends all over Canada and the US. And she said, Val's in the people business. And I thought, when you work in the people business and you are suddenly at home all the time doing everything remotely, like for me personally, that's been an enormous adjustment. I knew it would be. I've never been somebody who wanted to work from home. I've never sought opportunities to work remotely in any way. And I've also always felt that it was important to separate work from personal. So some of my biggest challenges in making this transition is that, first of all, I live alone. So it's very isolating, as other people who live alone also know that. But the other side of that coin is sometimes people are in difficult situations with the members of family or friends who they are living with, and they are now stuck managing that situation. So it could be, there's lots of challenges for everybody in just different ways. Yeah. And so those were some of the big ones for me. But professionally, being able to, since just last year we created the digital version of our program, I am so grateful for that. I can't even tell you.
Perfect timing, because probably you were able to oil the wheels at that point in time. Otherwise,
it meant the world. I mean, it literally happened last year, almost exactly this time, that we were getting ready to launch the first ever digital Business Edge program at Rotman. And we ran the first cohort, was very successful. Those people have done very well in terms of advancing their careers and getting into higher level positions. And then we started the second one in February, and then COVID. Wow. So it was extremely challenging because you can't just we have separate teams for those two programs. the campus team has not been using the digital format, so they had to learn a lot. Like everybody, we've had to learn a lot about using digital tools to keep going. But on the personal side, as I said, it's just managing being alone a lot, and well, almost exclusively, other than when I'm out trying to get exercise and fresh air, and having these digital visits.
I actually do have a colleague who has a similar situation, and what we've done is, for our team meetings, sometimes we do lunches together.
Yes.
Visual lunches together, just to make sure that she doesn't feel completely isolated, and we are not just doing the work part, but we are doing our personal stuff as well.
Well, we were initially having very frequent team meetings, and we realized we weren't getting, it was getting in the way because we had so much work to do, and we were spending too much time with these video meetings, and so we cut it back. But I'm the only one on the team that's a real extrovert. I've always, when I did the Myers-Briggs indicator, it was like capital giant E, and so over the years, as I've gotten older, that has calmed down, and I really enjoy time on my own now, and I find it really rejuvenating. However, not all the time. So we, as a team, decided to cut back on these meetings, and then what I did was, we had been talking about, let's do some social time. Let's just, everybody was banding about ideas. So I thought, as the person who probably needs it the most, I'm going to send something out to everybody. So what I did was I created an Outlook meeting that was Tea with Val. And I said,
so creative.
Every other week is the only time we're doing it, because we've got 2 different team meetings, one with a smaller team, one with a larger team, every week already. And a lot of us are doing other meetings for other reasons, so we're on camera a lot, right? And that sometimes feels
it's too much just looking at the screen.
Right. So I offered this Tea with Val, and I sent it out specifically with, you do not need to respond. I don't want you to accept this invitation. It's there, and it'll come up on their calendars, and I'll be sitting here waiting. And if anyone would like to hang out and visit with me, that's what we'll do.
Wow, that's so creative. Look, it's thoughtful. It's like, it's an opportunity for people to either take it or leave it for another time. I mean, at least there's an option, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is your advice to other people in terms of being mindful about how they set up their work-life balance?
Well, I'm certainly no expert. Any advice that I would offer would be based on how this has been a challenge for me, because I mean, there are people in my program. We have clients who've worked remotely for long periods of time, and they have more kind of experienced perceptions and views to offer. So all I can say is what has worked for me has been that for a number of years, I've been a person who meditates every day, every morning. And initially I did more guided meditations. I was exploring meditation. I was attending some courses through a local Buddhist temple in Toronto. And I took some courses through continuing studies at the University of Toronto, and in mindfulness. After doing the meditation. So this has been about 10 years probably that I've been interested in mindful techniques and a mindful approach to life and meditation. I have to say that's the single most important part of my life. I am, again, so first of all, grateful professionally that we developed the digital program in advance. And then I would say grateful personally that I already had these techniques in my back pocket, because I've found it to be incredibly grounding and supportive when emotional waves pass, to take that moment, recognize what's happening when I can. Sometimes in the heat of the moment you have a reaction and it's there, but to try to notice it and then breathe, recognize that it's there, and then have a reaction at that point. Once you notice, I'm feeling a little anxious. I know a lot of my friends are dealing with a lot of anxiety right now in this current situation. A lot of us are struggling with that. And taking that moment to sit and take very slow, deep breaths, close my eyes, notice sensations in the body, notice all the senses, notice any sounds around me, thoughts, emotions, scents, anything that comes into my surrounding. And then it just, like, the heart rate slows down and the breathing calms, and it's very helpful. And for the past couple of years, I've been delivering a workshop in Business Edge called, well, I'm not going to get the name right now, but it's about resiliency. It's about building resiliency and being prepared for these kinds of situations and being able to manage the ebb and flow more. So my daily meditation is a big part, but I also found an incredible person on Facebook. It's Dr. James Mascalic, and he is an ER physician at St. Mike's in Toronto. And he does Facebook Live sessions every other day. For a while, he was doing it every day, and then he went to every other day. And for the first 30 minutes or so, he just talks. He gives us updates, what's happening in the ER, his philosophy. He's also a meditation teacher.
Whoa, imagine a doctor along with being a meditation teacher. Wow.
Amazing, especially right now, because he works in the ER. So he can speak about what he's observing and what the reality is. He helps us to stay grounded because of his deep, long-term practice and expertise that he's built with meditation. So his approach is very enlightened, and it just speaks to me, makes me feel more calm. And also, he's an expert, so he's talking about the medical situation and the environment and what's actually happening, things like masks and all the different things that keep changing, helping us to look at the news and not get caught up in it, and try to limit our intake of it. And then the second half of his session is just a guided meditation.
It's so interesting that you brought up the point about being consumed by the news, because I, in all full disclosure, after the first week, when I was looking at how the numbers were just increasing and how it was spreading, working from home by myself, I actually started feeling anxious. I was like, oh my God, this is blowing out of proportion. And I consciously took the decision of not looking at the TV anymore. I would only go to it at night, one time, or early morning. That's it. Otherwise, I was constantly listening to the updates, and it was just too much.
Well, I'm so glad to hear you did that. Yeah, I think that's, if you catch yourself early. I have one friend who's living in a family situation where there's one member who keeps wanting everybody else to be in there with her with the drama. So she'll have the news on all day. She keeps switching around from CNN, various channels. And then look at this, everybody, look at this. And this person was so upset by it that they've had to make other living accommodations because they felt that it was just overwhelming all the time. And drawing other people into drama can be something a lot of people, struggle with, right? What I got rid of cable about a year ago. And it's not a badge of honor. It's just simply I found that I was watching too much of whatever. I just was watching to watch, and I changed my routine. Not only do I do the morning meditation, but I also read in the morning, and I have some really quiet, slow, easy way, and I don't watch any kind of news. I used to watch national news while I was eating my breakfast, and it wasn't helping me. I just was like, I would leave already kind of worked up about whatever the latest situation might be. And I used to work for the Red Cross. I worked for the American Red Cross, and we were dealing with disasters all the time and emergencies like this. And my life used to be around that kind of thing. There's an earthquake, there's a flood, there's a fire, there's something huge going on. And so I was watching the news all the time because I did need to know for my job. But it had a cost. So right from the beginning of this, I've just been like, well, okay, doing my best to once in a while tune into the big announcement at the middle of the day, late morning, to hear the Prime Minister or to hear the various ministers talk, especially Dr. Tam. I find her approach calming because it's all just science. It's very basic, it's very direct, and that kind of thing. Limiting my information to an official source like that as opposed to whatever is out there that may or may not be true and may really upset me. But I also attended a webinar a while ago about mindful screen time, mindful use of screen time. And one thing they were talking about was being mindful in that moment. So you pull out your phone, right? You're standing in line somewhere, you take a look at, well, right now we're standing in line for groceries. We're standing, that's happening a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of time spent in the line.
Yeah. So if you pull out your phone and you're looking at something and it's like another update about COVID, another horrible story, something very upsetting, whatever it might be, happy story, peaceful story, something about one of our wonderful musical entertainers like John Prine, who's just passed away, something like this, and notice your reaction. Take a moment to actually register that. And when you realize that you're having these reactions each time with these headlines, the doctor who was leading this webinar was saying, once you notice, it makes you realize what the impact is on you emotionally and physically, because your body goes into that stress reaction or whatever it might be, to all of these little stories that you're always looking at. So it's great to put the phone down. Dr. Mascalik talks about a digital fast, just cutting out, limiting to very small pieces. And really what I do is I tune into him every day. I might look at Facebook a couple of times, and LinkedIn for work, obviously.
Of course.
And that's about it. So
yeah. I mean, that makes absolute sense. I personally can tell you that there have been times when I have completely shut down social media, literally not going there. I need to take a break, and I do take a break. I know of other friends who do that too, because sometimes it just gets too much. And now that I'm creating content to help support people, this is the only time I'm doing more of it, and that too for a limited period of time. I'm not there all the time checking. I will only go at a certain time in the night, do whatever posts, respond to messages, and that's it.
Perfect.
So no going at it through the day and constantly, because that's when things get a bit too much.
I totally agree. I mean, when you can compartmentalize it, I feel like it's more manageable. And particularly for anyone who's dealing with anxiety, this is not, I see friends. I've actually reached out to a few people because I see them on Facebook sharing over and over and over again, all kinds of little things. I'm worried about this, here's that. And in a few cases, I've reached out and just said, hey, do you want to just talk? And this is something I would say, a friend of mine who's a real introvert, she put a post up that was meant to be a joke. It was a meme, and it said, hey, don't forget to reach out to your extrovert friends. They don't know how to do this. Right? And I thought that was great because it's true.
Oh my goodness.
But also reach out to people who live alone and older folks, but just people who you're wondering. Like, I had a friend I hadn't seen for a while on social media, and hadn't heard from her, and I reached out, and turned out there was a big family situation that had nothing to do with COVID. And I'm so pleased because, not that that's happened, but that I reached out because she said, boy, I'm so glad to hear from you. Here's what's going on. And then in addition to that, I've reconnected with some people. This is the upside of this situation. I've reconnected with people I haven't been in touch with for a long time, other than just seeing each other's posts on social media, and have arranged like these like drinks or chats or whatever, to be able to see each other or talk to each other or just hear each other on the phone, like whatever that person is comfortable with. And that's the other thing I would say to anybody who's feeling isolated, is to reach out and actually book this kind of thing. So to have in your schedule 5:30 or 7 on a certain evening, I'm going to have a video chat with so-and-so. Because otherwise you might feel that pressure that you always should be doing something like that. But if you have it in your calendar, it's like part of your schedule. But the other thing I have to watch as the extrovert is not to overdo that. Because both you and I. Yeah.
It is like nonstop. Sometimes it's just nonstop.
Yeah, and that's not a solution either. Because then you actually burn out from, as you just said a minute, like we were both just saying a minute ago, the camera time thing, right? Yeah. Sometimes I just want to talk to a friend. I don't necessarily want to have to worry, like, let's see, fix my hair. Not that friends care about your hair. Now I'm conscious of my bangs. No, but it's whatever that is. And a friend actually texted me to check in, and she said, who also lives alone actually, and she said, I'm having to watch that I don't make myself too busy, and she put it in quotation marks. And I thought, Yeah, that is what I'm trying to do. That's the balance I'm looking for.
Hmm.
So I have things like this past Sunday, I planned nothing. And then, I have a family member who's sick, and I was able to just be available for him rather than being all scheduled with stuff. Right? I just
Hmm. Hmm.
got connected to him and we had a conversation. Heard from another family member, spontaneously had a chat. Went for a really long walk because I had the time to, and also sat here and just started doing some reorganizing of my space, which I keep seeing people post about, but hadn't hit me yet, that drive yet. That's the other thing. I really hope people don't feel pressured to like learn how to knit or bake bread or uh, paint something. Like you don't I feel there's a lot of pressure now to like take on a big new project, and that's just more anxiety for
Yeah.
many of us.
No, just do what you enjoy. Why can't? So I'll tell you something. I love gardening. I love plants. So I just, with the weather better, I just stepped outside. I breathed,
Excellent.
picked up those little flowers that, the first blooms. I was looking at those. It's so calming. Just
Yes.
that fresh air, and if you can hear the birds, and for that matter, there's no pollution because the cars are not as many on the road anymore, and the noise is gone. Otherwise,
Yes.
my house is just on it's a busy street outside, so you constantly hear car after car going zoom zoom zoom, but no, that's not the case anymore. I
Yeah.
can actually just hear the leaves or the air just ruffling through. It's so calming.
I've noticed that as well. I live near a big park, and so it's really different. I used
Hmm.
to hear all kinds of noises, even in the beautiful natural environment, because planes, right?
Hmm.
Trains, and there still are the trains, but not as often, and there aren't as many cars, and they can't park anymore. The parking lots are closed in parks. So you're only going to get pedestrians walking through. I almost wish that was a permanent thing. I realize it's not realistic because people need
Yeah,
access,
yeah,
especially if they've got great big picnic carts and lots of kids and
of
stuff.
course.
But boy, is it ever nice to walk around and just have pedestrians in the park. But at the same time, it's challenging to just have to dodge people.
Hmm.
One of the mindful techniques that has been really important to me has been to watch my reactions to that. I have a quick sort of like a short fuse with it, and I'll have it. I just went for a walk on my lunch break today, and there was a moment. There was a fork in the road or in the trails in the park, and a couple came one direction, and behind me there was another couple with a dog, and I waited for this couple to pass, and they were looking behind me, and this other couple just darted around me, like there wasn't even a foot between us. And
Wow, that's rude.
well, that's happening a lot now. I notice, unfortunately, with people who jog and run, there's a fair amount of that, just like and I think it's just that lack of awareness and trying
Hmm.
to remember that others are trying to share the space. And I try to catch myself in that moment before I snap or say something nasty, because that doesn't help me
Yeah,
manage that
then builds
emotion.
up. It builds up. I know what you're saying. It just builds up then.
It isn't going to fix the
It pretty much
situation.
ruins your afternoon or the walk that you went for. It's like, okay,
Exactly. So
that's
the
not what I
reality
came
is,
for.
right, but the reality is we're all going to have to see. So I don't. Sometimes where the anxiety builds up is where you go, well, oh, well, I shouldn't have done that, or oh, these people, or oh, why can't people? Now it's always me. And I have noticed, I'll be honest, I have noticed a single person walking. If there are 2 or 3 people, they often take up the whole path and don't notice me, and I'm the one that has to dodge and go around and that kind of thing. And
Hmm.
sometimes I have to just be like, okay, well, when I'm with a friend or I'm with somebody else, am I always noticing whoever walks by? The answer to that is no, I'm not, right? We get distracted when we're with somebody else, but in the moment, I don't think like that. I just get frustrated and I judge that person, and why aren't they thinking about other people? And sort of catch myself, take a breath, and just keep going, and
Hmm.
try to look around and notice, oh, there's a squirrel, and where am I? Isn't this beautiful? How lucky I am to even have this opportunity. Breathe in and get that fresh air, and take advantage of that opportunity.
Well, I'm so glad that that you have that realization, because that's the big piece, to know the difference that of being able to reflect on oneself. How do I respond when I'm with someone versus when I'm by myself? So you cannot change your ways, or you cannot be mindful unless you yourself are ready to be observant of your own practice, which is the level of self realization and observance. That's what takes you to the next, to that level where you start acting mindfully.
Yes, I think if it wasn't for the years of delving into this, I mean, nobody's perfect. There are many, many times where I have moments and I think,
all of us have that.
There that is again, right? There's that thing that I wish I had better control over. Isn't that interesting? I wonder why that happened. What was it that got set off in me that made me react that way? What was the thing? Like what is the reason that these things, certain kinds of attitudes or behavior or certain situations or scenarios tend to push those buttons? And yeah, absolutely, I'm not always successful at that. I just try to be. I mean, I think we're all human, and that's part of what I was exploring when I was looking into this back at the beginning many years ago, was being patient with myself. And actually, so I've been to a couple of mindfulness conferences. The University of Toronto puts them on annually. This year, they've just announced that they're going to do the whole thing digitally, and it's the beginning of May, which is going to be a real challenge, but they're doing it. And so last year I picked up, I don't know if you can see these, but they're called Selfcompassion, the Selfcompassion deck. I saw an amazing speaker last year, 𝙉𝙖𝙫𝙞𝙜𝙖 𝙤𝙬𝙘𝙗, who is one of the interpreters for the Dalai Lama, and an amazing mindfulness teacher and practitioner, and just so inspiring to be around. And yeah, and so he talked a lot about self-compassion, and the whole idea is that it's and as the Dalai Lama will tell you this too, and all the studies and research that have been done about compassion, without self-compassion, it's almost impossible to have compassion for anyone else. Compassion for self has to come first. And a lot of people who we see, and a lot of us, when we're not feeling kind to ourselves, we lash out, and it's somebody else who gets that anger. And whatever it is that's going on with us, it's transferred onto another person. So these cards I noticed them at this event, and I decided to buy some and pick them up. And are you curious to hear what one of these are?
Yes, absolutely.
They have little, just to give you an example. Okay, Thankless Job is the name of this one. I did not pick, I just randomly pulled this out. Maybe no one else will show their appreciation, but you still can. Take just a moment and write yourself a note of gratitude for something you did for you. So we're always hearing about be grateful, right? Have a gratitude journal, which I fully support. I think those are amazing. I've seen friends on Facebook doing daily gratitude posts. Fantastic, because it helps us, right? But this is about self-gratitude, self-compassion. So if you can say to yourself, hey, well done, I did this, yay me. That's the beginning of being able to then see somebody else in a similar situation who's struggling and go, wow, that was amazing. And because you've already recognized that in yourself when it was a struggle for you. So not all of them fully resonate, but this one is an amazing segue into the question I'm going to ask.
And this is the question you didn't know about. So let's go.
Fantastic, bring it on.
If you had a magic wand, and if you could ask one wish of it, what would be that wish? And it has to be for yourself and not for anybody else.
Wow. Talk about putting me on the spot. You know what, though? I think that's brilliant, because I'm going on about self-compassion, right? So I have to be able to talk the talk and walk the walk.
No pressure. Just think of
no
something.
Pressure. No. A wish for myself if I had a magic wand. That's really hard, because there's so many things that I would like or want.
Let's nail down one.
I know. I'm thinking. I love it that you've done this to me. It's fantastic. No, I really do. I mean that. Um, one of them would be, one thing that I would really love would be to, as much as I've talked about how important the daily meditation practice is for me, it's kind of like going to the gym
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that I know it'll help me, but I sometimes have to push myself because I am busy. I'm working from home. And so work is always ever present, and I'm thinking about all those emails and stuff, and I just want to get to work. Not that I want to get to work more than I want to meditate, but I'm anxious to get started because I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking of my to-do list. So the gift for myself with the magic wand would be to always just feel like my priority is the meditation first, to be able to not struggle with that pushing myself to do it. I know that's not human nature, so it probably won't happen without a
You
much
never
more
know.
dedication, but and years of training. But yeah, I think the human side of life is that those things are, like I said, like the gym. It's the best analogy I could think of. We know it's going to help us, but do we do it?
No, I completely understand what you're saying, because it's like now seeing my parents when they pray, they don't think about it. They just go and do it.
There you go.
It's second nature. That's what brings them that comfort.
Yeah.
It's like, the routine of having your food, waking up in the morning, praying, and then, I don't think I'm at that level yet. I hope one day I'd be able to do that.
Well, it is my routine in that way. It actually is. I have developed that for a while now, but I don't just calmly do it. I have moments where I'm like, oh, I don't have that much more time. Oh shoot, I'm only gonna have 5 minutes for meditation today instead of 15 or whatever it might be, because I had to sleep a bit more, and my body needed to sleep more today, and so I have to accept that, and that's okay.
Yeah, and that's
So
okay.
being able to
okay with your needs versus forcing yourself and pushing. So that's an excellent example of being mindful for yourself.
Yes.
So that's amazing. Okay, so this has been such a wonderful conversation. What would be one parting gift that you'd like to share with everyone that they can take back and use it in their own lives?
I'm doing this because when I attend these sessions with Dr. Mascalic on Facebook Live, I just, at the end, and from doing meditation training at the end, that's what you're always doing. It's just the gratitude for something that's helpful. What I would just ask everyone to do, I know it's hard sometimes, but to really work on being patient with yourself and kind to yourself right now, because it's not easy what we're going through. It's difficult for many, many people, for all of us, and for some much more than others. And we all have different situations. We're privileged, those of us who can work from home and who have the possibility to even stay home, have a home and have income still. And lots of people are really, really struggling right now. So whatever your situation, wherever you find yourself, just to try to say, okay, so right now I'm frustrated, right now I'm angry, right now I'm feeling anxious, and that all of it is okay. And finding strategies around mindfulness to help with that. I think you don't have to call it mindfulness. All it is very basic stuff. Write it down. Take a moment and actually write what you're thinking or feeling. Call somebody and talk about it. Take 3, my biggest thing, and I do this with all Business Edge programs right now, 3 deep breaths, just 3. Slowly in through the nose, hold for at least 5 seconds, preferably 10, slowly breathe out through the mouth. Every time you do that, you will calm down, and maybe that would be the biggest tip I would pass along.
That's so wonderful. And I completely agree with you on this one, because whenever I have done yoga classes, that is what I start with.
Yes, the breathing.
Yes, the breathing.
Love it.
And breathing practices, when you have, it puts you in tune with oneself.
Yes.
That's how it puts you in the right frame of mind. So, which is amazing. Thank you, Val. You're always amazing. It was so much fun talking to you. I'm so thankful for all the wisdom nuggets that you shared. And just stay mindful. Just be you.
Well, back at you, UBU as well. I really appreciate this, Tarnum. I think it's fantastic that you're doing this. It's a great idea to get people into some conversations and just talk about what's really going on for all of us right now. I love that, and so thank you for being for allowing me to be part of it.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you again.
Please make sure to like and subscribe and ring the notification bell to keep updated with all our videos. Thank you.